Hey guys, welcome to your 3.3 notes. Remember, we are working with systems of equations. So today we're going to do systems of inequalities. Okay, so we're going to just graph them, graphing and solving. So we are going to graph this system. Remember, inequalities, you do have to worry about whether you have a dashed or a solid line. And you also need to shade. So please make sure you are doing both when you complete your notes and your worksheet or your assignment today. So the first one, we're starting out at a -1 on my graph. And my slope is -3 and over 1. So I'm thinking down 3 and over 1. And that is going to be a dashed line. Okay, so remember that if it has the or equal to underneath the inequality sign, it's solid. If not, it's going to be dashed. So both of these are in fact going to be dashed lines. Okay, so I'm going to go up 3 and over 1 to the left to continue my line. Okay, then I have a dashed line here. And it says I want something that is greater than that line, so something that's above that line. Remember, if you're not sure, you can always pick a point. So maybe pick the point 1, 1, plug it in, see if that works. Okay, in fact, it does. So this would be greater than that line. There's my shading. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to graph this same inequality or this next inequality on the same graph. So I'm going to go up to a +2 and I'm going to put a point. And then it says I'm going to go up 1 and over 1 based on my slope. Okay. Now we did say this one would also be a dashed line. So if you're like, okay, I got this, Miss Sanders, I've got a dashed line, great. Okay. And this one says it's going to be less than that line. So I'm thinking things that are going to be underneath. Okay. What I want you guys to notice is where those two pieces of shading overlap. That is where your system actually has solutions. So where mine overlap is right here. Okay, you see both pieces of shading. That is your actual answer. Okay, some people leave it and they just shade this area darker. Some people erase their other shading. Either is fine with me as long as I can tell where yours overlap and where that actual solution is. Okay, next one, I have 3 inequalities. So my first one, x is greater than or equal to 0. So think about this as like a box line. So my x is greater than or equal to 0. It means I have a solid line. It's vertical at 0, and it says it's greater than. So I'm going to shade numbers that would be greater than 0 for x. Okay, my second one, I have y is greater than or equal to 0. So this one I'm going to think of a Hoy line. It also is solid. So it looks like so far I've gone over the top of my axes, and this one says it is greater than. Okay, so we're starting to see where things are overlapping. Now this last one is not in a form that we can really work with yet. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get it into my slope-intercept form by subtracting 4x over and then dividing by 3. So I end up with y is less than or equal to -4/3 x plus 8. So I'm going to go up to a +8 on my graph. I'm going to go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this one again is a solid line, so all 3 of these were solid lines because they have the or equal to. Okay, and I'm going to draw my solid line in. Okay, and this one says it's going to be less than that line, so things underneath that line. Again, I want to see where they overlap. So if you're someone who's like, I'm not erasing all of those, that's fine, but I do want a definite, this is where my answers are. So if you're not going to erase, I want you to shade as heavy as you can where all 3 pieces overlap. So this one actually made a triangle. That's where all of my solutions are. Okay, we're going to do the same thing 2 more times, and then you guys have your assignment. So this first one is y is greater than or equal to 1. So again, this is a Hoy line. This time it's at +1 and it's solid. And we are saying greater than, so above my line. My second one, I've got a Vux line. Again, this one is at a +6, also a solid line. And it is less than. So I'm going to shade things that are to the left, less than that. Okay, and my last one, I have y is less than, so this one is actually dashed. Okay, y is less than 2x minus 5. So starting at a -5, I'm going to go up 2 and over 1, remembering that this one is dashed. And it says it is things less than that line. So things that would be less than that line. Okay, so I want to know where all 3 of those would overlap. So I shaded above my green line, to the left of my orange line, and below my blue line. So again, I have something that looks kind of like a triangle. I'm going to shade in that contains all of my answers for my solutions. Okay, last one, I've got some work to do. So each one of these I need to solve in order to get them in my slope-intercept form. So that top one, I'm going to start by subtracting my 2x over to the other side, and then dividing by a -3. Remember, inequalities, when you divide by a negative, you're flipping your sign. So I have y is less than 2/3 x plus 2. Okay, I'm going to start with that line on my graph. So I'm going to go up to a +2, put my point, and I go up 2 and over 3. And it is a dashed line. Okay, my second equation I'm going to solve, so I'm going to start by subtracting my 5x over. So I have -3y is less than -5x plus 3. Divide by my -3. So y is greater than 5/3 x minus 1. So for this one, I'm starting at a -1. I'm going up 5. And over 3. Okay. Oh, I forgot to shade my first line. Okay, so my first line was less than, so below that line. My second one is greater than, so above that line. Okay, and then last one, I'm going to subtract that x over, so I have 3y is greater than -x minus 3. Divide by 3. So y is greater than -1/3 x minus 1. So again, I'm starting at a -1, but this time I'm going down 1 and over 3. And this one is a dashed line. Oh, they're all dashed. All dashed. Okay, and this one I'm shading above my line. So hopefully you guys can see where they overlap. It is right here. A little tiny triangle in the middle. Okay, so again, if you want to erase all of the other ones, that's fine. If not, leave them on there just to make sure it is nice and dark. Okay, your homework is actually on your notes page, so everything is together. Please do these on a separate sheet of paper. So tell whether the ordered pair is a solution. So you're figuring out whether this is in the shaded area or not. Okay, then you are matching the system with the linear inequalities. Then you are graphing. Remember that there is graph paper on the shelf in my classroom. Okay, so feel free to grab some graph paper. There are some that have individual graphs and some with just grids. And then the last one, you're graphing the system of linear inequalities again, but these have 3 pieces. So go ahead and get started, and I will see you guys when I get back. Bye.